What's going on, guys, and welcome back to F1 22 My Team Career Mode for Season 1, Round number 8, the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. So this track's going to be interesting because, of course, big straight, I think the biggest straight on any track in this game. And yeah, with our... I don't think we really have a straight line speed issue, but it's the ERS issue we have. We just don't have enough deployment of ERS to make it work, and although this is a track that I generally go quite well at, I think we're going to struggle here this time out. So once this race is done, we'll be at the halfway point of the season. Looking at R&D here, Aston Martin have taken a big jump. As you can see, we've obviously been fighting them the most of the season, but they've now taken a jump. They're ahead of AlphaTauri, and they're pretty much there now in that mid-pack with McLaren, Haas, Alpine. So I'm now a bit worried that Aston Martin are probably going to overtake us here because, I mean, they're still not technically in the top 10, you know, of like top 10 drivers, top 5 teams, whatever, but they're now pretty much there in that mid-pack. And I mean, if Vettel or Stroll can just put a good race together, and considering how close that midfield is, they've got a good chance of scoring points here. And yeah, we really have to start seeing if we can upgrade our car and do a bit better, because we're just not... We're not moving in the right direction. We're still ahead of Williams, but yeah, things aren't looking great at the moment. And I will be honest, I think I did it after this race, but I've actually changed, because originally I had, I think, cash rate and R&D rate for the player on reduced, everything else on default. I have actually changed it back, everything back to default, so everything is now on default, just because, you know, I would rather get to a championship winning, or at least a midfield running car sooner than later, because we've definitely been struggling a lot. I mean, apart from Monaco last time out, where we magically managed to get into Q2 out of a bit of a miracle, to be honest, and a couple of cars like Verstappen and Russell having issues and not even making it through to Q2. Yeah, apart from that, we've really struggled in qualifying and in the race this season. Only scored points once, as on my fastest Q1 lap here, which, yes, I don't make it through to Q2, not really a surprise. I actually tagged the wall. Now, this lap ended up being quicker than my previous quicker lap. But yeah, tagged the wall, that corner there. A very difficult corner to get right. You take too much curb, you go into the wall. You don't take enough curb, you go into the wall. So you really have to, you know, manage that corner very well. But this would be my quickest lap in Q1. But yeah, with that and everything else going on, not a good qualifying session. And we actually qualify, I believe it was P22. So we are dead last. We've been out qualified by Lawson here. He actually qualifies P19, so it's a decent enough result for him, to be honest. We're P22 there. Vettel does get through to Q2, so that's not great. Stroll's here with us though. So let's see what can happen in the race.
Good afternoon and welcome from Baku. This was the arena, if you think back to 2017, of one of the most eventful races of modern history, with controversy behind the safety car, last-second overtakes, and a historic podium for Williams and Lance Stroll. Let's find out what lies in store for us this year. It's time for the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. The Baku city circuit measures roughly 6 kilometers and is made up of 20 corners and 2 DRS zones. The circuit winds around the narrow city, through the old town, and even brushes against the city's medieval walls. However, as beautiful as the setting is, this track is also a ferocious technical challenge, where the smallest of mistakes could lead to catastrophic consequence for any one of our drivers. So with the race not far away from starting, here's what today's grid rundown looks like. Charles Leclerc lines up on pole position, and the smooth operator Carlos Sainz completes the front row. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Verstappen, Mick Schumacher, Lando Norris and Magnussen, Vettel, Gasly, Albon and Lewis Hamilton, Perez, Russell, Daniel Ricciardo and Fernando Alonso, Bottas, Ocon, Nicholas Latifi and Yuki Tsunoda, Liam Lawson, Joe, Stroll and Shaw. It's almost time for the lights to go out, so let's head down to the track where preparations are underway. And here, of course, is Anthony Davidson. Let's discuss Red Bull. What do you make of their performance so far this season?
Well, the atmosphere within that team seems very positive at the moment. Everyone seems like they're in great spirits and having a lot of fun doing what they do, and that's definitely contributed to the performances we've seen.
Alright, so formation lap here, we are P22, some, I guess, slight surprises on the grid there. I mean, first of all, Vettel is P7, so it does seem to be a few grid penalties, but yeah, P7 for Vettel, so he's already in a position where if he finishes there, he will be ahead of us, and Aston Martin will be ahead of us in the championship if we don't score points. Mick Schumacher P4, which is pretty crazy, and also Alexander Albon is in P9, so that's a bit of a worry as well, considering Williams are really the only team that I think we can beat at this current point in time to 5 red lights, and away we go for the Azerbaijan Grand Prix at Baku. Of course, Baku always brings up a surprise. There's always a lot that goes on here as we go for a big dive up the inside of Stroll, Zhou Guanyu and our teammate Liam Lawson as we actually bump into Latifi, I think, through turn 1, but we don't have any damage. Lawson manages to get ahead. We are now kind of stuck behind these two as now Zhou is trying to make his way up in front of us, and he does manage to get the position. We're just going to check our damage here, but doesn't look like we have any damage. We're now down back into P21 after a decent start. Lance Stroll is now having a look round the outside into this next corner. We get very close to the back of Guan Yu into that corner, but we're just going to now go quite defensive on Stroll because he's really looking around behind us, and I mean, he doesn't seem to have the pace that Vettel does in that Aston Martin, but it is now considerably a faster car on paper than our car, so could be quite difficult to keep him behind. But we're just going to continue on here. Not a very good start, only the one position made up as Zhou Guanyu making a big dive bomb on Yuki Tsunoda and Nicholas Latifi. Great little move there. He gets past both of them, I think, actually, so that's an awesome move from the Alfa Romeo Chinese driver. My teammate is actually doing pretty well at the moment. I'm not sure. I think he's up into like P18 or something, so decent start from Liam Lawson here as we just continue on. And I mean, down this straight we don't have the deploy. I mean, we have the deployment, I just don't know if we're using it. And you know, although our straight line speed I don't think is terrible at the moment, it definitely isn't as good as that Aston Martin, so we had to go quite defensive on Stroll around there. And as we come onto the front straight here, which, you know, doesn't start as a straight, starts as this very fast, flat out left-right section and then goes on to the straight. Stroll is right behind us here, and I mean, I think we're using ERS at this point, but there's not a whole lot I can do. There's a move going on up ahead of us. Stroll is looking to the outside behind us. Somebody comes into the pits there. I'm not sure who that was, but there is a car into the pits. We do just about managed to defend from Stroll though, and it was Mick Schumacher into the pits, and I think it might have also been Albon. I think Albon also came to the pits here, or someone like that. I'm not 100% sure, but there was Schumacher, and I'm pretty sure there is someone else. But yeah, we're just gonna continue on here behind Yuki Tsunoda and my teammate Liam Lawson. He had a good start, but he is slowly falling back a little bit here as further up the grid towards the, well, yeah, fairly close towards the front. Sergio Perez making a move on Pierre Gasly. Perez did not have a good qualifying here. I think he actually started outside the top 10 or just at the bottom of the top 10, so not a great qualifying from the Mexican. He makes the move stick on Pierre Gasly, but now Gasly, in the kind of sister slash junior Red Bull team AlphaTauri, has the DRS. He looks to the outside, he then dives to the inside of the next corner. He's going to make that move stick. Perez locks up, goes into the wall, and that is Sergio Perez out of the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. He just locks up his right front wheel when he's on the outside of Pierre Gasly around that corner and destroys his car. He is out of the session as we now come. He's parked there on the right hand side, and of course that's going to be a safety car. He's in a very, very dangerous place. So safety car is out on lap number 4, I believe this is. And now I'm wondering, what do I want to do, because I'm not supposed to be coming in for my one and only pit stop onto hards until I think it's like lap 11 or something. But you know what, we're going to take a gamble because we have literally got nothing to lose. We're going to come in on lap 4 for our set of hard tyres, and we're going to try and go to the end on these tyres. We're coming in, you know, 5 or 6 laps earlier than we're supposed to, but we've just got to take a gamble here because otherwise we've not got a chance. Lap number 6 onto 7, it goes green again. We make a move on Stroll and up the inside of Yuki Tsunoda, as well as there's battles going on up ahead with Alonso and my teammate actually just ahead, as well as Alonso makes a dive bomb on Albon. So I don't think Albon didn't have an issue at the start of the race, but it might have been Latifi then. I'm pretty sure one of the Williams had to come into the pits along with Schumacher early on, as we are now trying to defend from Yuki Tsunoda behind us in that AlphaTauri. We're pretty close with AlphaTauri on R&D. They're a little bit quicker than us, and Gasly definitely seems to have the edge, but Tsunoda, we can potentially try and fight here. But we're just going to continue on. We are the only car that came in for the hard tyres, because it is really quite a bit too early to be coming in for hard tyres and going to the end. But, you know, if we didn't do that, we would be absolutely nowhere. Our tyres are going to be pretty shot by the end of this race, but I think it was worth the gamble. Looking up the grid, well, Mick Schumacher started P4, but of course had an issue on lap 1 or lap 2 and had to come into the pits. But Kevin Magnussen is now sitting in P4 in the Haas. So Haas looking very, very good here. Very unfortunate for Schumacher having that issue at the start. And on lap number 9, we're now right behind our teammate Liam Lawson, and even though we're on the hard tyres, I kind of gave it a couple of laps, didn't overtake him because I thought, you know, he's on the quicker tyres here. He should be quicker, but our tyres are now heating up and we are definitely quicker on these hard tyres. So we're going to go for a move around the outside, but he's fighting me a bit more than I hoped he would. On the inside there, he actually clips the wall, but I think he only clips it with his wheel, so no damage done. But he's still fighting us into the next corner. This is the first proper battle we've had with our teammate this season, but we get the move stuck. A little more difficult than I was hoping it was going to be on our teammate, but we're up now into P14 at the moment. And yeah, just trying to nurse these tyres because they're definitely going to be fairly shot by the end of this race. As further up the grid, I think this is Fernando Alonso once again trying to make the move. Might be Esteban Ocon, I'm not too sure. No, it is Alonso making a move on Alexander Albon. Albon, of course, like I said, started in P9, but yeah, didn't have, is going to naturally fall down the order, but Alonso can't get the move done at the moment, and now I believe Daniel Ricciardo is going for a move in the McLaren. He's now making a move on Fernando Alonso and makes the move stick as well, and I think that is now us right at the back of these guys. But a lot of the cars ahead of us, Albon, Alonso, a few of the other cars, Magnussen in the Haas, come in to the pits on lap 11. This is when we should have been coming into the pits. We end up Leclerc comes out of the pits just in front of us, so he was the effective race leader. So we're not going to fight Leclerc here. And then next lap around, Max Verstappen, who's currently in second place, or actually I think it's now third place because Sainz has also come out of the pits. He's now second, Verstappen third, and we did come out ahead. Verstappen came out behind us, so we didn't bother fighting him because there's really no point. And yeah, Leclerc kind of running away with this one a little bit at the front. Sainz and Verstappen, though, as you can see, very close on track at the moment. You just saw Leclerc go past. He's not miles ahead, but he does have a decent couple of seconds margin. The other two behind, Sainz under pressure from Verstappen. Sebastian Vettel, the driver who's been one of our main rivals in this season so far, is still doing a mighty fine job. I think he is still sitting in P7, so with Schumacher, you know, having an issue, he has fallen back one place but has regained that P7 because of Schumacher falling back. But yeah, Vettel doing a good job. I mean, like I said, that Aston Martin is now quicker than it was. It's still not quite there in that midfield pack. It's definitely at the back of the midfield pack, but hey, he's managing to put it in the points at the moment, and as it stands, will be beating us in the championship. As Kevin Magnussen now making a move on us. We're going to fight this one a little bit. I mean, Magnussen is in the net P4 at the moment, but I don't know, I felt like I just need to fight a little bit here. We're currently actually in P4 because everybody's coming to the pits now, but yeah, we are going to the end, remember, but we're definitely going to have a lot of quicker cars coming past us. And sure enough, on the front straight, Magnussen does manage to get past us this time. Didn't really bother fighting it too much, as I want to now try and see if I can stick behind him a little bit and just stay within his DRS, because that would help us a lot. But these cars are quite a lot quicker than us, and we've got the very fast Lewis Hamilton behind us. And as I go defensive into on this straight here, Lewis Hamilton goes around the outside, but you know what, I'm not going to fight that either. He's way quicker than us, and I'll let him go and try and make moves on Magnussen, because a Magnussen versus Hamilton battle, which is something we've actually seen in real life a few times this season, is something we definitely want to see here. As we now have a look at, I think this might be Alonso once again, making a move on Alexander Albon. This time he finally gets the move stuck, but then goes defensive to the inside because Albon trying to have a look around the outside. Then you've got Daniel Ricciardo still there in the background. It's 2 wide with Alonso and Albon. Ricciardo is going to try and make that 3 wide as they go into this braking zone, but Alonso has to back out. It's now Albon versus Ricciardo. Great battle between these 3 here, and 3 cars that are all pretty, I mean, you know, the McLaren and the Alpine pretty close to each other on R&D. Albon in the Williams, though, way further back, but he's managing to fend from these guys at the moment as they continue through this section. Mick Schumacher has actually caught up to these guys in the Haas, so that's just showing how good that Haas is, and with these guys battling, of course, that is helping them out. We now have Lando Norris come past us. We let him go past on this part here because I want to not necessarily overtake him again, but I want to stay behind him so that I have the DRS, because the next car coming up behind me, as we're sitting in P7 right now, is Sebastian Vettel. And although I didn't really want to overtake Norris, I kind of have to now because I've stuck a bit too close behind him. And if I just let off there, it's just going to invite Vettel back through again. This does mean, though, that I'm now not going to have the DRS for this next move here. But yeah, hopefully maybe Norris will get past us here and we can try and stick with him. Of course, the McLaren started off this season pretty much with us at the back of the grid, but they have definitely made improvements so far as Norris goes for a move, and we're going to fight it a little bit, but it was more me just trying to keep my momentum going because now Sebastian Vettel in the Aston Martin is right behind us. He's currently sitting P8, we are P7. Unfortunately, we couldn't quite stick within a second of Norris. And as we come onto the front straight here, Vettel is right behind us. You've also got, I think that is, there's a couple of, I think it's Bottas and Russell behind him as well, as Vettel goes for a move around the outside, but we're going to try and stick as close to him as we can, make him go a little bit defensive into turn 1. He gets a wobble on, and although I didn't really want to overtake him into this next corner, I might have to, but no, I back out because I think, nope, there's no point overtaking him there because he's just going to get me straight back again on this straight. But now we have DRS, but we just don't have enough. I mean, we're deploying as much ERS as we can. We are going to gain on him very, very quickly, and we're going to have a look to the inside, but we just can't quite stick with him there. The Aston Martin too quick in a straight line compared to us, and unfortunately we're going to drop a little bit further back. We do still have DRS at this point, but instead of attacking Vettel, I'm now having to defend from Bottas as we try and keep it round the outside of turn 1. We're still side by side as we go into turn 2 here. He's I pinch him to the inside, but then he bounces over the curb, gets caught out in front of us. That lets Russell come past as well. Now we're down to P10. Russell looking to overtake the man he took the seat from at Mercedes of Valtteri Bottas. We try and go defensive on Gasly, squeeze him to the inside because he's now making a move on us as well. And this is going to drop us out of the points. If Pierre Gasly gets past, we're going to stay on the inside. Gasly is a car that I feel like we should be able to battle here because he's only just ahead of us. AlphaTauri only just ahead of us in R&D, but Gasly definitely doing wonders in that car, and he's also on fresher hard tyres than us. And sure enough, on the back straight here, he's going to make the move stick. He's going to get past us. We've got a decent gap back to Ricciardo behind, so my game now with 5 or 6 laps to go, lap 21 of 26, is to just stay within DRS of Gasly to pull us ahead so we can at least get a good gap on Ricciardo and Alonso behind. And then potentially, if we've got the pace, try and save the ERS a little bit to perhaps make a move on Gasly later on in this race. So we're just going to try and keep ahead of Gasly, as now we have, I think this is Kevin Magnussen once again, still holding on to P4 right now. He's got Lewis Hamilton in the Mercedes behind him, and he's managing to stick to that position. And I think this might actually be the final lap of the race as he comes across the line and takes P4. That is a great result for Haas. If only Mick Schumacher didn't have that incident in the first couple of laps, he might have also been up there. It could have been like a 4-5 finish for Haas, which would be absolutely ridiculous. We end up not being able to catch up to Gasly. We keep a decent gap to Ricciardo behind, but we fell out of DRS with on Gasly, and yeah, ultimately It's going to cost us 1 point in this race because it's another P11 finish. Very annoying, very disappointing. We didn't have the pace here though. This was not the track for our car. And yeah, I mean, I definitely think that strategy we did pay off, because otherwise we would have been P18, 19. So it's about as good as we could have done here today.
Here we are then, it's victory in Azerbaijan. Great work for the whole team here at the track and back at the factory as well. Some pretty handy driving for good measure. So, Anthony, what made the difference out there today?
Well, they certainly stood out as a driver with tons of confidence on the track. I think their ability to keep their cool, even during some of the more hectic parts of the race, meant they were able to capitalise on the mistakes of other drivers, giving them the opportunity to make their way to the top spot with ease.
Looking at the podium, you can see that red suit, familiar to fans across the globe. A world-class win for a world-class team. Ferrari, do it again.
So Charles Leclerc wins the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. He's on a roll here at the moment. Well, he's not actually, is he? Because Lewis Hamilton won last time in Monaco, but he's doing pretty well, let's just say that. Carlos Sainz comes home for a Ferrari 1-2. The Ferraris looking ever dominant still in this season so far, and Max Verstappen manages to get back on the podium for P3, of course, being kind of bested by Hamilton and Mercedes the last few races. But yeah, a decent race for Red Bull, at least in Verstappen's hands this time out. Of course, Perez with that DNF, and yeah, Hamilton gets beaten by Magnussen for P4, so that's a great result for him. DNFs for Perez and also for Ocon. Ocon just had a mechanical failure this race. Leclerc extends his championship lead a few points now ahead of his teammate Sainz in the championship. Verstappen a fair way back. The two Ferrari drivers definitely running away with this one at the moment. Magnussen moves up to P10. Great result from him. We actually moved down because Vettel scores his first points with a P7 finish. And in the Constructors' Championship, unfortunately, we moved down to P10. We've now been overtaken by Aston Martin because with that P7 for Vettel, they now have 6 points. Sorry. McLaren move ahead of AlphaTauri, and Haas move ahead of Alpine for 4th place. So it's looking good for them so far this season. A top 5 in the Constructors would be awesome for Haas. But anyway, that's going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed, please go ahead, like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.